Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today we have with us the lovely Esme.
Hello, hi.
How are
This is
you?
so fun. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. For those people listening and watching, would you like to introduce yourself and say a bit about what you've done in the industry?
Yes, okay, so my name is Esme Bowdler and I am the runner-up on Mamma Mia, I Have a Dream. And I trained at ArtsEd, graduated 2021. And yeah, that's kind of me really. I don't have too much to say.
So, how did you figure out that you wanted to go into performing, and what was that time like between like studies at school and deciding to go to actually study in the industry?
Oh, that's a good question. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was younger, when I first started high school. I just knew that I wanted to do like something creative. And then I was 13 when I first got into like amateur dramatics and I joined the Liverpool Empire Youth Theatre Company, which was like the best thing I ever did. Because I used to be quite like a shy, like introverted person. And then I started doing musical theatre and this like huge personality came out. So that was nice. And then yeah, so I was just from that, I was like, oh, this is like a job. Oh, I would absolutely love to do this. And yeah, then at 16, I left my high school and went to college in Liverpool and trained in musical theatre. And then when I was 18, somehow managed to get into arts ed. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. It all just happened quite smoothly, actually. I was
Yeah.
quite surprised.
How was your audition for Arts Ed, and did you do other colleges too? What was that process like?
Yeah, I did. I for the first year I was like I wasn't convinced I was going to get in anywhere because obviously I know how hard it is to get into drama school. So I was like, I'll do three. I'll do GSA, Arts Ed, and Erdang. And I did GSA first, and my dad like drove me down, and I had my first audition, and I didn't even get a recall. Like it went horribly, and I was like, oh, okay. And then Arts Ed was next. So I was like, I'm probably not going to get in. I couldn't even get a recall for GSA. Like, it's fine. I'll just go enjoy the day, it's a day out. And yeah, ended up getting recalled on the day, which it was weird. I did singing first and then dance. And with the singing, I was very much like in and out. They didn't really critique me that much. And then in dance, I didn't feel like they were really watching me or anything. So I was like, oh, it is what it is. And then they said I'd taken my like number off, when you have a little audition number. I'd like taken my number off. I had my coat and my bag on ready to leave. And then they called my name for a recall. And I was like, oh, okay. So took my bag off and then yeah, I went and did some acting and got in. So then I didn't end up going to my Erdang audition, which because I'm not like that big of a dancer, I think maybe it was a blessing that I didn't go and audition for it because I've heard that like the dance audition for Erdang is hard. But yeah.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to people that are at school wanting to audition? Because I don't think schools are quite clued up as they should be about
Yeah.
students who want to go down that path. So, what would you say is like a good starting point to audition for college instead of going down the university path?
Yeah, I would say have a look round you sort of like where they have musical theatre courses that are maybe like 16 to 18. I did a level three diploma and it was pretty much all practical, a tiny bit of writing, but like I wouldn't want that to scare anyone because I can't write to save my life and I got by. So it was like a tiny bit of writing. And yeah, I definitely found that eased me in rather than going to like a sixth form and doing like history and something else with musical theatre on the side. I sort of just went all guns blazing at musical theatre, which I feel like a lot of schools try and like steer you away from. Um, but I would just say if it's what you want to do, go for it. Like go all guns blazing. I don't think you necessarily need a plan B, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, I definitely say I think that answered your question. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, definitely. So your time at Arts Ed, how did you find it? Well, how would you compare yourself from first year to third year?
Um, I feel like when I turned up at Arts Ed, I very much had imposter syndrome. I was like, can't. It was my dream school, so I was like, I can't believe I'm actually here. Like, so many amazing people have been to Arts Ed, and obviously it's got like a bit of a representation. Representation, is that the word I mean?
Patient.
Reputation. That's the one. And so yeah, I turned up and I felt like a small fish in a big pond. But I had a really good supportive year, and like all my teachers were so nice. I had such a nice time. I think in first year I was just so happy to be there. Whereas by the time I got to like third year, we'd obviously gone through COVID, we'd gone through online um teaching, through Zoom, and like half of my third year, pretty much all my third year was COVID as well. So I think by the time I got to third year, I was a little bit um it just wasn't what I expected to be. The situation wasn't what I expected. First year I was very much like, oh, when I get to third year, we're going to be doing all these shows and all these agents are going to be here, and we're going to get to do all this. But that didn't quite happen, but no one's fault. So I think by the time I got to third year, I was like, oh God, this is actually terrifying. I'm not ready to leave. Um, but then yeah, it's we all have to leave at some point and figure it out on our own. And yeah, that's what I did.
Throughout college, what was your most daunting moment where you felt the most out of your comfort zone? And like, how did that teach you things in the future?
Yeah, okay. Well, I would say there was lots of times where I was like, I didn't really feel like good enough to be there. Um, and I feel like it's one of those things at drama school, like if you don't get validation from like a teacher or a course leader or like a grade, it can have like a really strong effect on you. But I feel like as I'm out of the industry now, yes, we still have waivers of like self-confidence issues and all things like that. But like the more you believe in yourself, like the more great opportunities will come your way. Like I kind of wish in drama school that I had just believed a bit more in myself. But a big challenge I think for me in arts ed was for my third year show, I had to play like a 60-year-old grandma in The Wedding Singer. I was Rosie and I
Yeah.
had to rap. And I was like, how on earth am I going to get an agent whilst strutting and rapping on stage? But I did. So I had nothing to worry about, but it was just a daunting thing that I will never have to do again. I'll never have to play a 60-year-old woman as a 21-year-old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is really tough. So when you
Yeah.
came out of college, when you graduated, was it like past lockdown? How did you navigate your time with auditions, and how did you keep yourself busy?
Yeah, it was still, there wasn't a lockdown as such, but it was all a lot of
Strict.
auditions were through self tapes, and like every auditions had just completely cut back. Like
Yeah,
there was nowhere near as many auditions as we were told there would be, and how sort of not expected, but that you're told will happen, sort of thing. Um, so to keep myself busy, I would look online, especially Instagram, and there was a thing called the Grad Fest, which I don't know if they sort of like kick-started it, but the Grad Fest was the first concert I did. And it was the first time I went and sang in the Phoenix Arts Club, and it just kept me creative. And then because I didn't work really, I just did concert after concert. I would meet people who were putting on concerts, and I'd just reach out and I'd message, and um, yeah, just anything that I could get my hands on to keep creative, going to workshops. There's so many good workshops out there where you can meet casting directors. So yeah, just making sure that I was at least once or twice a month doing something creative just to keep the juices flowing and everything.
yeah, good. I think it's important to do that, definitely. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
about Mamma Mia then. So I want to know
Yeah.
from the beginning of the audition process to when you got into when you found out that you were going to be on the TV.
Oh my God, it's still crazy. It's nearly a year ago, actually. I auditioned sometime in March, I think it was. And basically, I wasn't gonna audition. I had lots of people sending it to me, and they're like, "Oh my God, you should go for this." And I was like, "No." I was like, I'm not a Sophie. Like, I'd never been seen for Sophie. I'd been seen for the Royal Caribbean, but that was for understudy Donna and Tanya. So I was like, I was very aware that maybe it wasn't my sort of casting. I don't know, or I'd told myself it wasn't my casting, but very clearly it kind of is. And so I people were applying for it. A couple of guys that I know were doing quite well with the Sky auditions, and they were like, "You should audition. Just send a tape." And my friend was like, "What's the worst that's going to happen?" And I was like, "You know what? You're right. I'll just send it in." It was like midnight. I just sent off my show reel, and then I got an audition 2 days later for the Sunday, and I turned up in like Doc Martens and a dress. I sang Anywhere But Here from Pretty Woman because you have to take like a musical theatre ballad and then a Mamma Mia song. And I sang The Winner Takes It All. And everyone else was singing like Name the Game. They were singing like Sophie songs. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I was like, I've completely ruined it for myself. I was like, oh well, I'm here now. And then I went in to the first round, it was in like an office on Tottenham Court Road. It was really strange. Um, there was so many girls there, and yeah, I went in, I sang my songs, and she was like, "Okay, you can go upstairs now to David and Will Burton, like David Grimrod." And I was like, oh my God, they're here. Okay. I was like, great. At least I'm being seen. I think Will saw me, so I was like, that's incredible. Like I'm being seen by Will. This is a great step in the right direction. Um, and then one of the producers, Ash, who obviously now I know was in there as well, and I sang my Mamma Mia song, The Winner Takes It All. And they were like, great, we'll be in touch. And I was like, oh, wow, that was fun. Who knows what's going to happen? And then I got an email with like a big questionnaire that I had to fill out. And then from that questionnaire, I had like an hour and a half phone call talking just about life and like how I got into musical theatre and all sorts of stuff like that. And then I made it to the final 50. And I was like, oh, either way, I'm going to be on the telly. Like they filmed at the final 50 a little bit. And then I had a holiday booked. And this is always the way with this industry. As soon as you book a holiday, you'll get an audition. Like, honestly, I feel like people need to tactically book a holiday so that they'll get an audition. It's hilarious. But yeah, so I was going on holiday to Lisbon, and the day of my flight, they'd recalled all of us, but they were doing like a cut halfway through the day. So I took all my things with me and my passport, and I was like, if I'm cut today, I'm going to Gatwick and I'm getting on my flight. And I told them that. I was like, do you know when, like, if and when people are going to get cut because I might hop on a plane in like 3 hours. But then I didn't get cut, so I missed my flight, but I managed to get one for the next day. And then it was the finals on the Saturday, and yeah, I'd literally just been to Lisbon. I came back. I was literally like, oh my God, this is mental. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm in the final 15. And then, yeah, I don't know how it happened, but I got the call about a week and a half later. So it was quite, I remember it being quite a long wait. Um, I was in work at the place that I'm at now, just making coffee. And they called me and I had to like run out, and I was like, I'm really sorry, like I'm at work. I knew what the call was going to be. I was like, I'm at work. And she was like, oh well, we'll make it short and sweet. You're coming to Greece. And I just was like, ah, and yeah, did all the screaming, crying, told my mum. The customers were waiting for a coffee. Like, yeah, it was really funny. But yeah, it was literally everything you'd dream it feeling like. It was really, really nice. It's just like
What a
everything I've
cool
been waiting
story.
for.
Yeah. And how did all the people around you react? Like you said, you called your mum and all the people that were telling you to apply for it. How did they react when you told them you got it?
I honestly, it's all a bit of a blur. Like everyone was just ecstatic. I feel like I didn't do it properly. You know, when people do like videos where they're like FaceTime to
Yeah.
get the reaction, I just didn't even think. I just called my mum, said I'm going to Greece, but was like crying. I was like, so I could barely speak. And then she was crying, hung up on her, text my group chat with all my friends. It was like, I just kept saying, I'm going to Greece. I wasn't even like, I got it. I was just like, I'm going to Greece. And everyone was just like, it just felt like an explosion of like love and support. Yeah. Everyone was just like, what? And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm going to be on the telly. But
So
yeah.
I spoke to Maisie Waller and Leah Rutherford, and they said that there was
Yes.
like a process before you actually, was it when you arrived in Greece you had 3 weeks, or you had 3 weeks and then went to Greece?
Yeah, we had 3 weeks in London at the English National Ballet, just learning like the openers, so like the bits that came before the episode, which was tough as well because we kind of like um, would learn all of them, but then we knew we possibly weren't going to be doing all of them.
Mm,
If you know what I mean, because it'd be like we knew that this would be week one, we knew that one would be week two, and that one would be week three, and we'd be like, oh God, someone will have gone by then, and yeah, yeah, it was nice and it was stress free in a way, but at the same time we were all just like, oh my God, it's happening.
yeah, so
So
exciting.
yeah, that
You
was
didn't
weird.
actually meet the boys until you got to Greece.
No, I promise. Like it was so funny. There was a so on the day, I don't know if the other girls told you this, but we all had to like wait in a taxi. I was with Leah and Steph, I think, and like we honestly waited in these taxis in like just we had like a base camp. You had like a base camp, and then you had like the villa, and we were like in this car park in between, and they held us in these taxis honestly for like an hour and a bit, and we because they were trying to get the boys to drive past without it like without us seeing them, and they did drive past, and we all had to like not look. And then when we were in base camp, we had big boxes for all our costumes and everything with our names on. And they wheeled these boxes in, and one of them said Callum, and one of them said Owen, and it had their full names. And we were like, oh my God. And then so all the crew were like, stop, stop. And it was really dramatic. And yeah. And then when we got to the villa, they like hid the boys in the music room, and we were in the living room, and they sent us out first into like the breakfast area, and then oh my God, it was just chaos when the boys came out because I knew Darcy as well. So when I saw Darcy, I was like, what? What? Yeah, it was mental. It was very overwhelming. There was lots of screaming. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, brilliant. When you were actually like doing the rehearsals, what was your favorite session with the creatives that came in?
Oh, hmm. To be fair, actually, I really enjoyed. So before we went out, the only song we got given like in advance was our solo song. So the second week was like girls' week and the boys' week. That's a lie actually. We had our episode one song and a solo song, and so I knew me and Leah were doing Fernando, and I knew that I was doing Just a Girl. And like I didn't really know the song. We couldn't really stage it because Anthony was like, I have a vision of what I want to do for your song, but I can't do it until we're in the villa. And I
Mm.
was like, right, okay. So everyone else, like um, like Steph and Maddie and like all the other girls, they were able to like um do their song with like all the actions. And I was like, Anthony wanted me like in a room, but then to come out and run around. So it was when we were actually in Greece, and it was the day of the solos that I learned it. And he was like, you're going to start in here. And just like we worked really well together. And he was like, I want you to rip something. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And then I was like, and then I can have like a scarf that I wrapped around? And he was like, yes. And we just like worked on it together, me and Anthony and Nicola. And yeah, sort of made we included this thing where I run up to Jessie Ware and I like do like a hip thing in her like to her. Yeah, it was just really good. I just felt like creatively it just felt really like the song had finally come together and I finally sort of understood what it was about because it was it was a bit of a rogue choice compared to others. Um, but yeah, so probably that one.
Yeah, lovely.
Long story short, I ramble on, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's so good to hear. And who were you most starstruck by, like audience members and the people that came?
Alan Carr,
Yeah, that's what
honestly,
they
like
said.
Alan Carr was so because I feel like I'd watched him for like the longest. Um, and when we all got to the amphitheater and like we met them for the first time, everyone was like running up, and I think I remember I was so awkward. I was like, "Can I hug you?" And he was like, "Yeah." Like I was like, "Oh God." I was trying to come across cool and then I didn't. But yeah, he was, and towards the end of the process, because obviously I ended up being there for like just over a month. Towards the end, we'd get to like speak to them, and I would just stand chatting to him, and I was like, "What is my life?" Yeah, he was really nice.
And it's that sort of thing that everyone knows Alan Carr. Everyone knows who he is. Like if you go like even to
Yeah,
your workplace and you're like, yeah, I was with Alan Carr the other week, everyone will be like, that is cool.
yeah, that's what I would like tell the local like everyone at the local pub in Chester when they'd be like, "So what's this show you're on?" I'd be like, "Alan Carr's on it," and they'd be like, "Oh wow." If I'd have been like Amber Riley's on it, they'd be like, "Great."
Yeah, because although like those like musical theatre niche like performers and
Yeah,
stuff, like so well known in that world, but Alan Carr's just like, yeah, everyone knows him.
Universal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one. When you were performing your songs, which was your favorite performance?
Uh, Probably I'd say again, just a girl, because I don't know, at that point in the competition, I was just happy to be there, didn't feel any pressure, and just, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, what a good one. And what was the most like nerve-wracking moment in the whole show?
Oh God, I had so many. I don't know if you could tell if you watched the whole thing, but I was nervous a lot. Like I don't know. I think there was one when I was about to perform with Toby and I was really, really unwell, like
Oh,
more unwell than I feel like was made out. I was really, really ill. And I just could like see like flashes of lights. And
oh,
we had to like stand on a box and I was in heels and I'm tall anyway, so I just was like trying to sing and like not fall and not faint and then
like you
try
lose
and forget
balance
that
a
I'm
little bit.
yeah, and I was like also trying to forget that this is going to go on national television. But then also I think the final I was really nervous for.
Yeah.
If can I include the final? I would definitely say the final actually, if I
Yeah.
can include that one.
Such a tense moment, and obviously, like, congratulations for getting all the way to the end. But what a moment
Thank
where,
you.
like, where you just would have been like, this could be like, what is going to happen?
It was like just before I went on and sang my solo. I they obviously played the VTs. So what you all saw at home, like the things like my mum and my dad and all that sort of stuff. They had a screen in the theatre that would come down so that the theatre audience could watch it as well. And so I could hear everything, but we had to sing with like in ears in. So they would play it through your like in ear as well. So I could just hear everything. And I was just like trying not to cry because I could hear my mum and my dad getting emotional. And I was like just trying to tune everything out because I was so nervous. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think I got rid of the nerves.
yeah, good. And how did it feel like getting so far, but just like missing the opportunity?
I mean, to be fair, like I think it feels like exactly how you think it would feel. Like me and Stevie had a nice moment before we went on to find out where we were like, you know what? whatever happens is meant to happen. If you win, you are totally meant to play this role. I win, I'm totally meant to play this role. So it didn't feel like a competition. It didn't, it didn't the whole time, and I genuinely mean this, it just didn't feel like a competition. I know it did in terms of like how much I wanted it, but there was no competitiveness between the girls, which I think
So
was
nice.
an absolute godsend.
Yeah.
Absolute godsend. Because if there was that, I think I would have just like crumbled. Um, but yeah, I mean, in the moment, I was just so full of adrenaline, and I was also just so happy for Stevie that my initial thing was just like, "Oh my god, that you won! This is amazing!" And then I sort of came off stage, and I was like, I saw the creative team, and then my heart sunk a little bit. I was a bit like, "Oh, it's done. That's
Yeah.
it."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and like now, I think it's hitting me more now because I'm back in work making coffee, like living my best muggle life and auditioning again. It kind of feels like a bit of a full circle moment that like my life has completely changed, but then also not at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm back making coffee, but I totally, totally believe that it all happens for a reason, and whatever comes next is meant to happen. But
And you
yeah,
never know.
it feels how you thought.
You never know because like some producers and even the team could be casting the tour or like it on a ship and
Mm.
like, oh, let's get Esme, and like you have no idea what they're
Yeah.
thinking, what can come from that opportunity. And I'm sure you've had a lot of like people reach out to you being like different opportunities coming in, but maybe being seen for like different auditions because you've had that exposure.
Totally. And it's a really nice position. I feel like I spent so long because I came out of drama school and I was the one that didn't book and I was the one that didn't get the jobs. And, it felt like everyone around me was. And like, it is totally okay. And like, your time will come. And I was just really thankful that the thing that did come for me was huge. Like, I would always say to my friends, like, I was happy to play Barney the dinosaur in like a kids show. I just wanted to perform. But then the thing that did come along was this huge show. So yeah, it's opened so many doors.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll just see what comes next. And also, I would honestly, as much as Sophie is such a great part, I would just love to play Donna. And I spoke to Maz Murray, and she was like, "You're Donna," and I was like, "I'll take it."
Oh, what a woman. What was she like in person?
Oh, just so incredible. She was so fierce and just like so. It felt she was like so truly herself, and she knew who she was, and she was just this like powerhouse of a woman. She was really inspirational. Yeah.
Such an inspiration. Where would you see yourself in the future? What's your dream job?
My absolute dream job is Jenna in Waitress.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I just don't know what it is. Just it's literally since I was like 14, it's been like no, maybe 16. It's just been like an absolute dream. But I know that it's not really round at the minute. Um, so I'd love to do something like Six or like Heathers or something in that kind of bracket. And then
Mother.
maybe that
Yeah.
a little when I'm a little bit older, I'd love to be Jenna and then Donna.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Always reach for always reach for your goals because you never know what could happen.
Oh my God, exactly. Yeah, totally.
What would be like your one bit of advice for anyone wanting to go into the industry, like a inspirational sentence or two?
Uh, oh, it sounds so bloody basic, but just believe in yourself and keep going and don't give up. I know it sounds literally so basic, but it's so plain and simple. Believe in yourself, keep going, even if it takes you 15 years, you will do it.
Yeah. It's so important to like trust yourself, like worth, your self-belief, and knowing that like if you do,
Yeah.
you can get it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, a tough thing I've had to figure out by doing this show is if you don't believe in yourself, other people can't believe in you. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, people did believe in me. I'm not saying that, but like, if you doubt yourself, it gives space for other people to doubt you. Whereas if you're like, no, I got this, people are going to go, oh, yeah, she does. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's so true.
So,
It's all
yeah.
about perception as well and how you come across, even though you might not feel it. It's like fake it till you make
Yes.
it.
Oh my God, fake it till you make it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay, so the last thing I ask everyone who comes and joins me on my podcast is if you were to nominate someone to come and impart their wisdom on this podcast in the industry, who would it be?
Oh, ooh. As it, and like I'd get to watch them. Maybe hmm, I don't want to just say someone from the show. I want to have a think. Could it just be from any like West End, or could it be like anyone?
Anything.
Uh, I'd say Maz Murray. Like, let's get Maz
Yeah.
Murray on.
Yes, surely.
Let's make that happen.
That would be good. That would be so good. I'll definitely reach out and we'll see what we can do. But listen, Esme, thank you
Yes.
so much. It's been a dream speaking to you, and I'm sure everyone listening has had a blast. If you are listening, make sure you check it out on all streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Go check out Esme's socials, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.